good.
Why you looking at them girls like that?
You look good. That's why I'm looking at it like that.
But Dad, they're not even your age.
Do it look like I give a fuck? Do it look like I give a fuck and I don't? Age ain't nothing but a number. You'll learn that when you get older. Plus, I'm just looking.
That's aside the point, R. Kelly. You looking at them little girls like that, and you're gonna be looking at me through a glass window when you in jail.
Shut the hell up, Sean. You don't know what you're talking about. Plus, I'm looking at her right there, and I know little girls.
Miss Penny? That should weigh like 400 pounds. Plus, she in a wheelchair.
I'm not talking about Miss Penny. Her right there.
Oh, Miss Johnson.
That's right.
I heard she used to be a man.
Shut the hell up, Sean. She ain't used to be no man. What you talking about? She's just a tall tree, and I want to cut it down. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, before you cut it down, make sure you cut that branch off.
Get the hell out of there. I told you, shut the hell up.
Attention Squid Squad. This is Ouchcast episode 20. With Angel, George, Enrique and Doyle.
And welcome to the show. How's everyone doing?
That was quite an opening.
I don't know. You just threw me for the biggest loop in the world.
Get that branch.
I think we should make Sean our official fifth member.
I was just about to say, did we just hire someone? Because the budget doesn't allow us to hire right now.
By the way, you're fired.
We got a budget.
It's been nice doing this.
Sean is better.
I'm out.
Didn't you blow the budget on that nice little intro too? What was that? Robot Boys?
Oh, you guys like that?
I like that.
I have to put it because of the fact that this is our 20th episode.
Yeah, 20 episodes in, baby.
I hate the robot voice because of like TikToks and YouTube.
Yeah, but it's not that annoying. Watch what happens when I do this.
No, it's the guy version. It's just as bad. I don't know.
I think it worked. It worked. I liked it.
It did work. I was not ready for that. It was so awesome. I was like, I lost.
That was, by the way, my second take. I had another one, but I decided to delete it because it was just...
Was it that? It's like, hey, welcome to podcast.
No, it was the same voice, but actually a woman's. And then it was like, with Angel, George, Enrique, and the black one. But I decided to change that one up.
We had to take her out. I mean, I don't want to...
Was that racist?
Take her out back and whip her.
Was that racist? Oh! Jeez.
Ow,
here comes out the whip.
Stop.
I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. This racist robot just discriminated against me. Couldn't even give me a name. It said the black one.
I'm just saying. Stop with the whipping. How's everyone doing? How's what's new?
Good. I'm addicted to this salted caramel cold brew, man. Stranger Things. That one dude. The dude played Vecna apparently was into it, and I saw it on an article, and I'm like, well, I want to give it a shot. And guess what? Been drinking it ever since.
I've had it before.
Diabolically delicious.
Mm-hmm. This was a diabolically delicious.
I went to camp.
One time in band camp?
Yeah, one time in band
Concentration
camp.
camp?
Hey, that's racist.
Ooh, whoa. I apologize for anyone whose relatives have ever experienced the concentration camp. We were not insensitive to that, but...
The views of Enrique are not the views of the Ouch podcast.
I was talking about a quarantine camp.
Oh, okay.
It was a terrible joke of opportunity. I will take my lashings now, sir. Ow.
Oh, jeez. That's good.
Who let the guy with the whip in here? God.
Woo, woo. He's got to keep everybody in line.
Who let the whip in?
And he has a hood.
I hate that guy.
But more importantly, George, what's new with you?
So I recently tied the knot.
Bam, 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 bam.
Hey, congratulations.
He's off the market, ladies.
Ladies, he's off the market. So that makes 3 out of 4.
You know what?
No pressure, Enrique.
We just officially lost our female audience because we have no single men on the show. So all 4 of those people, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
We're down by 4. So now we have only 8 listeners.
They obviously haven't been seeing our pictures on Instagram. I think we would have lost those female audience a long time ago, guys.
I think we lost those female audience a long time ago.
It was the Valentine's Day episode.
The Plan C for chili.
Well, you know, we need that now more than ever.
The Plan C for chili? No. No.
Like, what are you talking about? This world is still got plenty of room. It's just everybody likes to huddle around the power grid. You need to learn to live off the grid.
off the grid. I wanted to get into solar panels, but it's just there's a lot of shit out there for solar
It's just
panels.
a different like energy source for the same grid.
Yeah, but there's converters and all that shit, and then our grid is all obsolete, so you have to like upgrade it to make
Exactly
it.
why they
Yeah.
took Tesla out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have solar panels, and whenever the grid goes off, I mean, I still lose electricity. So I don't know, if there's like some way to like not do that.
Yeah, actually, there's something called the Yeti generator. I think it is
Okay.
that you attach to the solar panels and to your fuse box,
Mhm.
and when the power goes out, it kicks in and it's taking power from the solar panels. So you still have electricity when everything goes out. You'll still have your lights. You'll still have Wi-Fi. You'll still have all that.
Yeah, but why didn't we hear about this Yeti generator until way after?
Because you
had
didn't do your
everybody-
research.
Yeah, right. You had everybody invest in solar panels and stuff, and then you get them, and they're like, "Hey, my power's still out.
Yeah.
What the hell?"
And my bill is still expensive.
Well, it's kind of like DirecTV, where you see you can have DirecTV for only $19.99, but by the time you're done, you're like $190.
I think
Because all the little add-ons that you have to have.
I'm not usually
Fees and
the
taxes.
like I'm not usually like a conspiracy person, but I do think in this case it's like has to do with whichever company like holds the reins to that power source or that commodity has to find a way to cash in on it before they actually make it available. So, for example, like electric cars. I mean, I know we've had like that technology for a long time, but it wasn't until like people found a way to like monetize it, so that everybody gets a piece of the pie. But before it started becoming more available, and then right now for solar panels, same thing, because you still have to do the solar panels through the while you do it with a separate company, you're still connected to whichever grid that city is owned by, and so you're still paying like them. It's ridiculous.
Did your power bill decrease?
We're paying for whatever we paid for the solar panels, right? Which is around, like, honestly, for an electric bill is probably comparable to an electric bill. So we're not really making that much of a savings. It just doesn't fluctuate.
You do a monthly payment for the solar panels.
Right, and you have to, because those solar panels might as well cost you the like I could buy a Ferrari.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, solar panels, because there's the Tesla portion of it, because they like their battery portion that goes into the side of the wall, and then of course it's expensive.
Did they ever come out with those roof shingle solar panels that Tesla was saying they were going to come out with?
No, I mean I don't know. That's a good question. I have no idea. I mean, I just got your traditional ones on the roof.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But speaking of conspiracies,
it's interesting though that a lot of people will dismiss conspiracy theories, quote unquote, when it's like something large scale, but it's easier to believe it on a smaller scale, like something like the electricity company, when they have, like you were saying, control of.
But that's not really conspiracy. Like, they actually do control shit, and
Of
it's
course.
a monopoly. They do it to their best interest. That's why the coal industry is so big, because it's to the best interest for us not to switch to electrical, because then they'll be out of business.
Right.
Or
And
so they think.
All I was saying was that's the same thing on a larger scale with,
I think the question is always like the first thing you have to ask is who benefits from this conspiracy, and oftentimes that'll that we say like what's that old phrases like follow the money, and so if the money is going in the right direction, it's easier to believe a conspiracy theory because multiple people would always act in their best interest to try to protect their flow. So I would always assume that a government, particularly lobbyists and other people would be put in place to try to protect that money flow, in this case being electricity, right? So I think more people can believe that for that reason, whereas like something like the moon landing or something like I don't know, other stuff is more difficult because it becomes too fantastical, and then when you ask the big question like, well, who benefits from it, that's where it sort of breaks down for me, at least. I mean, that's for me.
That brings me up to our point here. Let's go into conspiracies, and you brought up the one that I want to talk about. Moon landing. I mean, we all believe in one conspiracy or another, right? I mean, most of us, from it being like, the internet companies are in cahoots, solar panels, whatnot, flat Earth. I'm not looking at anybody when I said that.
You keep your eyes over there.
Okay, sorry. And I mean, I have one too that I kind of believed when I was younger, and I still kind of believe at times, but then I jumped the fence to the other side. I'm like, no, that's bullshit. Which is the one that you just said, moon landing.
I have questions.
Who doesn't? And as I was gonna prep for this, and I was actually gonna have sound bites and clips and all that. My thoughts about it have always changed, and last night they changed again. I was like, okay, yeah, the moon landing was fake. It had to be because of the fact that how can they get to the moon with a computer that has less power than a solar panel calculator that you have on your desk that you buy at the 99-cent store? You know, how can you get all that up there with the technology from the 1960s? It just doesn't seem feasible to me. But then I started thinking about it. I'm like, okay, it's the same thing as when we talk about Illuminati off the air. It's like, for what purpose, right? That's what I always talk about. Why would they fake it? Well, they would fake it because they had to beat the cosmonauts, the Russians, fucking Russians. They had to beat them to the moon, right? You know, they had to get there first. It was a national pride issue as well. So if they couldn't make it, they had to fake it. That's what I thought for a long time, and I thought, okay, that makes sense, you know, in my mind. But then again, it's like, then you're telling me they had to get all those thousands of people to fake it. They had to set up these programs, spend millions of dollars to build facilities. They had to build a rocket that actually did go into orbit, because that did leave our orbit, and you can see it with a telescope, and you can see it up there. But we never got to the moon. That just seems kind of...
Well, they recorded a lot of the moonwalk in some freaking place in Arizona.
Stanley Cooper? Or Stanley Kubrick?
I don't remember, but I just know that they went ahead and they took those old photos from the moon landing, and then they found the exact same place where they filmed it.
Yeah.
And then they just basically took pictures, desaturated it, but then did the, what do you call it? Like the overlay, and then they faded out one, so that way the other picture comes, and it's spot on, bro.
Well, I mean, when it comes to what a studio is, like, that's easy to replicate. So, I mean, even if somebody was to say, like,
yes and no,
they could have rebuilt.
Yes and no, because, and I'm talking from my experience with lighting and gaffer and all that stuff. There was no enough power. We did not have neon helium balloons back then to light the stage the way it was. That'd be nearly impossible with the technology from back then. It would take so much, where I think it'd just be cheaper to shoot on the moon, to be honest. Well, with the cameras from back then and everything, and the resolution and the 60 millimeter.
That's one of my questions.
It's actually an 8 millimeter camera, I think they used on that. And those things...
Okay, here's my question. With the technology and you being a film major, how is it that they were able to broadcast as clear and as live as they did in the moment? Because that doesn't add up.
It wasn't on the moment. There was a delay. It wasn't a large delay. I think it was like a 3-minute delay, but there was a delay.
Okay, but you think about how long it takes information to travel.
Yeah.
And you're talking about like a 3-minute...
Radio waves is possible. My only concern is from my point of view. It's an 8 millimeter or 16 millimeter camera, okay? With a modern Sony V1U camera, I cannot go outside and at night and film and get a clear picture. It's gonna be fuzzy as hell. So, for them to get those kind of pictures on the moon, that's kind of weird.
That's where I have questions.
Yeah, that's my concern. But again, to light that set, it's not possible with fake lighting. You know, it's
right.
just.
So they were able to light up the moon?
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. That's why I'm kind of like on the fence, because it's like there's too much to light it, but then again, it's like, wait, you used a calculator to get there, like a little fucking shitty calculator. Wait, you guys use a 16 millimeter camera to record that? That's kind of, those things are like
with a ship wrapped in aluminum.
Yeah, like, dude, you went up on like a baked potato? Like that's, I don't know, man. It just seems like, to me, it'd be like, I could see like, well, look at the last administration. Well, look at the current administration. Both of them. Look at how jackass both the Biden and the Trump administration were. They're fucking morons, both of them, right? And you have them just lying out of their ass. You have them fucking faking shit all the time. And then like the Bay of Pigs, that wasn't them. Or Guantanamo Bay, they denied it for a while until, oh, no, yeah, that's a thing. You know, like, they always hide shit from you because it's like, you know, they're the parents. They know. So, yeah, I think they probably faked some of it just to be like, yeah, we're there. How come we never went back? How come it's just like we went up to the 70s? Okay, we're done. We discovered everything.
Well,
as much as we like to conquer. Are the European descendants love conquering other places? You're telling me we got to the moon and then we said we don't want a base here. We're done.
Well, that was one of my questions, and you touched on it real quick. But
I'll touch you.
Yeah,
The whip, the whip. Ooh.
No, one of the questions that I always had, because it's hard. This conspiracy kind of like
it's hard.
It gets me, and
it's hard and it gets you.
Dang it! I set myself up for these.
That's why we can't have nice things.
Yeah. You said the question. Why haven't we been back?
Yeah.
Like, we're talking globally. Like, the entire scope of the human race has never been back to the moon except for this one isolated incident where we have all these satellites. I've never seen a satellite picture of the moon with the American flag on it.
Yeah, same here.
So,
Hey,
Which
you
by
exist.
now?
You know what's funny too? Another little thing that contradicts itself is that they took a picture of the quote-unquote first footstep on the moon surface, and then when you go to, I forgot what museum it was, but they have like the suit that did it, and then you look at the bottom of the shoe, it's completely different.
I heard it. It's because they had another boot added on, and the other one was like contaminated. That's what I heard.
well,
But yeah,
How
let me get
convenient.
to that question because there was, okay, I saw this a few years ago. It was an interview with the head of NASA, and they said, "Why haven't you returned to the moon?" And I kid you guys not,
aliens.
We lost the technology.
he said, "We forgot. They haven't been to the moon because they lost the plans, and they forgot."
They went, what moon?
That's not that unbelievable to me. I mean, okay, first of all, think of like what we gained from going to the moon. Like, really, what did we gain? Nothing. We gained two things. We gained one, prestige, like from like other countries, and then the second thing that we gained, this prestige, and then the second thing that we gained was, oh gosh, you trying to like blow on your freaking microphone like it's a penis, like completely threw me off, Angel.
Sorry.
This is when we need cameras in here to see this sort of bullshit.
He was
Whitney,
trying to swallow
Whitney.
the microphone.
I withdraw my case. Thank you.
That worked. I should do that more often to
Is
shut
that
you
how it
guys
works
up.
in court?
The defense rests.
No, but
No, the offense is offensive.
the offense does not rest. No, but honestly, like, okay, let's say we did go up and then we stopped. Yeah, we did not gain any kind of resources from it. Let's say that, but it's because we never even tried mining. We did some core drilling, but it's like, there's material up there we can use. But okay, nonetheless, let's move on to the next thing. Okay, so why would we go up there, plant our flag, do a couple more missions, and then stop because the ratings went down, and then the Russians, which at this point were still our enemy, we were still in Cold War, be like, that's been done, we're not going. And then now the Chinese, as powerful as they are, financially, you're telling me they're not going to go to the moon?
Every landing on a different, like on a thing outside of our planet is very violent. Like to the whatever technology, and everything is done from hundreds of thousands of miles away. So there's no way to really tell the difference. Everything that I've read about this is that when you said earlier, Doyle, that the technology was lost, it makes sense because you had a nation that was bent on doing it, and we no longer are. Like there is like the funding that NASA has is like infinitesimal to what it had at the time. You know, when you had Kennedy saying we're gonna land on there. So nobody's interested in it, first of all. Second of all,
I am.
Well, you are, but you don't have $1 trillion to do it, right?
Or do I?
Well, okay there, Elon Musk. Chill out.
Well, I was gonna say that we do have people in other countries. I understand that maybe NASA wouldn't have returned, but no other country would have said, "Hey, maybe we need to terraform another planet for materials, and maybe the moon needs to be a bridging point for us to start setting up." Like how we see in the futuristic movies, you see these space colonies, but they have to branch out. And so, if you think about it, you would go.
You're gonna go to Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
The
right.
only-
That's how I
there
see
is
it.
a benefit to having a space station because eventually you're going to
I
branch
want a
out.
PlayStation.
So the only like countries that would have done it at the time would have been China and Russia, and all of
And
their
India.
money. All of their money was hell bent on. All of the money was held. India at the time was like with the British Isles. What are you talking
No,
about?
not then. Now I'm saying they have a space program
Okay,
now.
okay, but hold on.
The
You're
Native
talking about back
Americans.
then.
Oh,
Okay.
back then,
At the time,
the Inuits.
So at the time,
Should I blow the microphone again?
you already are. You're absolutely blowing it now. You're completely blowing it. Like, I'm afraid to like scan that barcode on your show because it's probably just gonna be like porn video of you like fucking that that microphone,
What,
right?
the QR code? No, it's to our website. Leave me alone.
Pornhub.
No, yeah, but
Ba-doom.
no, it's, I don't even know how it goes. Doom, 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 something like that. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, back then.
Hold on, I didn't finish my point. Shut
Yeah,
up.
sorry. Go ahead. Go on. Continue, please.
India. You see,
Thank
Russia
you for
and
making your point. Get to the point.
Hey, we have listeners in India.
Thank you for listening to me. No. No, tell me. Tell me your point. Get to the point.
You know, that's offensive, but you're black, so you get away with it.
No, that's worse. That's fucking worse.
Why would him being black be worse?
We are the same color.
Oh man.
The views of Doyle are not the views of the Ouchcast.
Don't you disrespect my brother.
Yeah, like it's been nice sharing this podcast with you guys.
Yeah, I think I'm done. Anyone else?
If
I
I'm
think
going,
let's go home now, guys. That's it. Wrap it up.
you know what? That
We made it
just-
to 20 before we got canceled.
That legit
Christ.
just took a trip into the ridiculous.
Now I'm gonna have to do my fucking Speedy Gonzalez accent just to even it out.
No, it'll absolutely suck the like life out of the room if you did. That was fuck. You can't beat that shit. That's hilarious.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ!
I have a theory that everybody can do at least one accent that is not their own, and I don't know why mine is Indian. But I have called tech support a few times and been a little racist. I won't lie. I
My
think it was
God.
hilarious. If it makes you feel any better, me and Adil used to do it all the time.
Okay, then it does make me
that's
feel
my
better.
buddy.
Hi, Adil.
Adil.
Adil, we miss
What's
you.
up?
But see, Enrique was trying to make a point.
I
man.
was. It's over. It's done. I mean,
But yeah, let's go back to the moon landing.
well, the countries, China and Russia couldn't like. All their money was spent on their war machines. Period. And so they just didn't have anything left over for for being able to land on the moon. We were in. It was just like a perfect storm of like economy and world politics that made it possible for America to be able to land there at the time. And right now, it's just not. It's gonna happen again. It's just gonna take a little bit longer. I mean, I believe that within our lifetimes we will see another moon landing. We'll definitely see a Mars landing with a human.
I hope so. That'd be great. But I'm not holding my breath though because of the fact that it may be fake.
Yeah, like, yep.
There's always gonna be like
certainly
jack
doubt
off
it.
saying that it's fake.
Totally fake. I'm that jackass.
I call bullshit.
No, I'm on the fence, dude. I can see why they would fake it. I can see why it would be to their,
I mean, have you guys seen those modern NASA videos? This guy was on a spacewalk and then that fool almost drowned.
Okay, I got a quick.
I have actually.
Yeah.
Because they filmed that shit in a fucking
Okay,
super clear
but-
pool.
But I have something for everyone on why it could have been faked, but they like legit went. Okay, so this. Speaking of conspiracy theories, there was this conspiracy theory that came out years ago that when they went to the moon, they were actually approached by
I
extraterrestrials.
heard that one too.
And
I saw that
so
movie.
The evidence that they had on camera, they couldn't release to the public because, for whatever reason, the extraterrestrials communicated to the astronauts and told them not to release the information because the human people were not ready. And so they conveyed this back to the government, and the government said, "Well, we have to report something to the human population so that they know." So instead of releasing the actual footage, they went and they filmed it to not cover it up in a sense, but to keep us from finding out the truth because we were told not to do it. So, I mean, yes, I'm with you, Angel. I'm on the fence, but I think both of those conspiracies are very intriguing, especially with all the extraterrestrial sightings we're seeing lately.
Well, yeah, there's a book.
What
that
year did the moon landing happen?
I want to say 69 just because I like the number, but no, I'm not for the top of my head. I don't
Okay,
remember.
what year did we start seeing the first UFOs?
Oh, 1930s.
Yeah.
It actually.
Okay, it was before
now,
that.
If you
When
actually
did
see,
Jack Parsons actually
if you see
hit this? When did Jack Parsons die?
Jack Parsons
Die?
that
He died in
here.
an explosion.
Google.
Nope.
No, Jason
No.
has it in his research.
Oh, he has his research.
So sightings have been like hundreds of years,
Yeah,
but
no.
like, but the-
Thousands
but-
if you think about it,
but-
because
but-
you see tapestries that they have these things
Right.
that look like UFOs.
But those things are. But what I was going to add though is those are debatable sightings, right?
extremely.
But real, like when we're talking about like photographic evidence, it's been since nuclear plants have gone up around the world. When nuclear plants started going around the world, those sightings became a little bit more prevalent, and you started having more like photographic evidence. So
Right.
it would have probably been in the first nuclear plant went up in 1950 something. That's really when you really started getting photographic evidence of
Yeah.
the 1950s.
Because I know that there was
1940s too.
that Parsons was actually
That's when the term flying saucer came
also
from.
like a kind of like a student of sorts to Aleister Crowley.
Hmm.
And
God.
no.
The
it's
Satanists?
Yes.
Yes, this is actually true.
Sorry,
But
the
the whole-
humanist.
They
the
were
humanists.
they were all a part of the Theosophical Society, and they had like contemporaries within like the German Vril Society,
Mhm.
and so like there's this very unique connection with a lot of these a lot of our modern day fathers of science and the occult.
So the whole point is that as a scientist, you would continue to do whatever it is as an experiment until you reach success, right? And so pretty much there was an instance where Parsons got himself in with the U.S. government so well that he was allotted time and resources to conduct his experiments until he had success. And pretty much there was a point where something had happened where all of a sudden, like the White House had been recording UFO activity around the White House. And so long story short is that they reached out to Parsons and said, hey, all this stuff is going on. People are reporting unidentified objects, unidentified creatures, and this and that. Like, did you have, like, were you responsible for this? And Parsons said, I think so. Like, the freaking ritual or research that they were doing, like, he felt was successful. And so all of a sudden, in the occult, there's this whole thing where if you open up a portal, the person that opens the portal has to close it. But, you know, coincidentally, Parsons died in an explosion before he was able to close anything.
1952.
So,
You went off a tangent on that one.
well, I'm just saying, like,
Well,
when you talked about the
See,
extraterrestrials
yeah,
on the moon.
when you talked about the extraterrestrials on the moon, there's a book that I read back in 1996 or 97, no, 96, called Alien Agenda.
Yes,
Okay?
that's the book.
By Jim Mars.
Yep, that's the book.
Now, this book is the reason why I was like, oh, if it's true, you know, it's in a book, it must be true. But again, I was a teenager, so I believed anything, you know. I was obsessed with that book and The Hot Zone. I don't know if you guys remember that one. It was about Ebola outbreak in Africa. But this one, I read thoroughly, and it just stuck in my mind because it said a couple of things. I mean, I don't believe it now because you know, anyone can make any claims on a book without actually, you know, looking into it. But they said things like they had a picture where they said on the dark side of the moon there was what they called like the Crystal City, which was this gorgeous, huge city that cannot be seen from Earth because it's on the dark side, and it just shimmered. And supposedly, when the astronauts went up, they took a picture, and it's in the book where it's like a very grainy picture. It's really bad quality, but you can see like all these lines and stuff. Yeah, it looks like, you know, like the Fortress of Solitude or something like that.
Right.
On the moon, supposedly.
That's where that came from, huh?
Yeah. The second thing that always stuck out to me from the book is that the claim that when they landed on the moon, when the not the shuttle, what do you call it, the capsule, when they landed on there, it made a gong sound, like a hollow gong.
Like the moon is hollow.
Sound. What the book is basically trying to claim that the moon is fake.
Yeah.
That the moon is actually a satellite that is hollow, and inside is actually like an alien base. That's what they're trying. That was the claim from the book, and they're saying that there was an agreement between the American government of the 1960s and this alien population or this civilization up there to keep it hush hush in exchange for technology and other help supposedly. That's what the book states.
Wow.
They said supposedly that also they tried to core into it, and supposedly the core would just spin because it couldn't go through the crust.
It couldn't penetrate.
But again, back then I would believe it because I would believe anything. But nowadays it's like, well, I can say anything in a fucking book, dude. You know, Alice in Wonderland didn't happen. It's just it's a book, but it didn't happen.
I think it, it definitely lends credence to understanding like a conspiracy in general. You said it once upon a time, like everybody has like an agenda and what they like present, and the information that they're giving out. And I think Enrique, you said like, what does this benefit? Like, who does that benefit for that information to come out, or especially that way? And so like those are things that we always, in looking at any conspiracy, like when I'm like doing any sort of research, I take the information and the fact and I put it over to the side. And then if it can be corroborated, if there's multiple accounts, if there's, I use the scientific method on proving anything and believing anything. And so I encourage any of the Squid Squad out there, before you just dive into a conspiracy and lose your mind, make sure you like be thoughtful in your process, because you'll totally lose yourself in a conspiracy if you get caught up in the wrong stuff. And we don't want anyone out there shooting and hurting people. So, but I thought that was interesting how you said that they thought the moon was hollow, because it reminds me of like the hollow earth or the flat earth theories. And I know you hate them.
That's the reason we didn't go back to the moon, because the earth is flat. Crickets.
There was
crickets. We're actually on the back of a turtle.
No. See, and that's where I think a lot of people have this misconception of the flat Earth, in the sense of like, you think that it's just some flat disc floating out in space. Like,
tell us,
did you say flat dick?
Disc.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tell us, George. Enlighten the world, because
like, I honestly believe that this is an enclosed system. So I know that you guys have heard like that the snow globe, basically, like theory, where
Truman Show?
Yeah, it's pretty much a Truman Show type scenario here, where you have a dome that goes over the Earth, fastened like, and I believe that
is it like the Georgia Dome?
Do you mean like a globe, as we're in?
Welcome.
No, not a globe.
The Thunderdome,
because it's half.
A bowl.
To a degree, like you have the ends of the dome like reaching down and actually touching Antarctica, and I believe that that's why in 1959 they had the Antarctic Treaty, which, tell me why that is the only time all the governments of the world, or the majority of the ruling governments of the world, came together and agreed on one thing, because these fools can't agree on anything. So why was the Antarctic Treaty so freaking important? But not everybody's a part of the UN.
Right, not everybody's a part of the treaty.
Who's not part of the UN?
There was 56
Me.
countries.
UN.
You're not a country.
UNITY. Unity.
UNITY.
I heard that song. God. It's a great song.
Okay, so flat Earth isn't technically flat. You're telling me it's like a bowl. That's
not
your
necessarily
concept of
a
it.
bowl, but just in any surface.
But that's a good description.
But then,
an upside down bowl.
But then, okay, so if that's the case, like we never went to the moon. There is no moon.
Well, if you look at it from the perspective of, like, the ancients all believed that the sun, the moon, and the stars were all contained within the firmament, within the dome. So in that regard, that's why I laughed when we were talking about, the moon landing. They got there 3 days earlier in comparison to their notes. Okay. So I laughed because I was like, okay, well, I mean, if it's possible that the sun, moon, and the stars are all in here, then they got there 3 days earlier. Who knows? Because it could be something up there, but just not past. Because even even nowadays, they talk about the Van Allen radiation belts. And they say that we cannot get past that in order to get to the moon or any other celestial body out in space. So they talk about pretty much
because if we do, we'll become the Fantastic Four.
Right? So if you can't get past that belt of radiation, which coincidentally happens to be the point where people say that the firmament is, then how are you going to have gotten to the moon back in the day?
Okay, hold on. You said it'll turn us into the Fantastic Four. What if all the powers only apply to your junk?
I call the thing.
I'll pass.
Right.
I'll pass. One, it disappears. Another one is catching on fire. One just stretches to the ground. They've been trying to replicate this technology since the 50s.
Is that why they call you Dr. Doom, Doyle?
No comment.
It's all burned and enclosed in metal.
It's disfigured beyond repair.
Enrique has left us. Enrique, come back! Enrique!
It's all for a country that is mine called Monrovia.
Monrovia?
Wait.
Monrovia is a
Monrovia's not a country.
Oh my God. Pasadena. Okay, but back to the flat earth thing.
I'm actively losing brain cells right now.
Dude, okay.
So is the Squid Squad.
We do not cover your medical bills from the loss of
brain cells.
yeah, we can.
When did this show become the Joe Rogan experience with all the fucking stupidity?
It is definitely not that. He actually has people listening.
yeah.
And money. But for what purpose?
You know what? I'm
For
interesting.
what purpose? To keep the flat Earth model, basically.
Hidden.
All right. So what purpose is basically because somebody had to have created such a model, and they basically don't want anybody believing in a creator, whatever it is you believe it to be, whether it be God or Allah or this or that. They just don't want you to believe in a creator.
So it comes down to
So-
globe sales?
Like even in the even
Is
like
that what you're
in,
trying to say?
even in the Bible, like when the creation's described, he describes it as a globe, like
He describes that. He inscribes a circle.
He doesn't say
into the-
circle. He
into the
says
space.
he says globe. The word
No,
the
sir.
actual
Yes, it does.
the
Yes, it
Jewish
does.
word they use means globe. Like I remember like when this was during my when testing my theory like my political sense, I would listen to Ben Shapiro, and he used to do this Wednesday show where he would talk about like the transcriptions from the Jewish Bible. It was anyways. I'm glad I don't do that anymore. But anyways,
I just threw up in my mouth.
well, he described like the creation theory. He called it a theory. I'm calling it myth. But he described the creation myth, and in it he says, you know, that in their Bible, like it describes it as a globe on a black firmament, meaning, you know, the sky, right? And so like even and then that aside, you know, you go back, you know, like to like Western philosophy, and you know, you look at, you know, different philosophers who, with their just observations proving that the Earth is round, they knew it because of like just with their own visual sight and knowledge.
With their own visual sight is basically how you say it's not equipped to be able to go ahead and see that.
Sure.
Like your eyes only go a certain distance. Let's take example the ships that allegedly sail over the curve. You can take a camera and you can go ahead and zoom in, and that ship will automatically come right back into focus. It's not because it went past the curve, it's just it went past the point that your eyes have the ability to see.
I think that theory was disproven.
No, sir.
Yeah.
They
Here, check this
disproved
out.
that.
By their own numbers, there should be an 8-inch dip in every square mile. No, for real. In order to get the curvature that, according to NASA, you need in order to get the whole rotundness of the Earth. So for every square mile, we should be experiencing an 8-inch dip, and we do not.
What this doesn't account for, though, is that light bends. Like light bends, and so when you're looking off, you're actually refracting off the sky, and so you can actually see. You can see there's a gradation in terms of a warp. Like there's a warp like on the image. So you know, I mean, you can account for that much. I mean, it's a good number, but
not
it's
necessarily in the sense of, I forgot that. Where can you see Chicago from? Because there was basically a point right here, and then a point where you see the Chicago line. So essentially, I don't know how many miles that is in between, but you should not be able to have seen Chicago. Like, barely at best, you should have been able to see like the tips of the skyscrapers. And yet you see the entirety of the city. So what they went ahead and did was they tried to go ahead and do a test by having somebody on this side of the shore and then somebody on the opposite side of the shore. And then they used the military-grade lasers, that pretty much the little green ones.
Was that Mythbusters?
I don't think so. But regardless,
Isn't that the
You
one
were
video
able to
where the
see.
guy actually proved that the Earth was flat? I mean, the Earth was round accidentally. Did you see that video
no.
where he's like, "Wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense," and he's like, he was putting lasers towards each other. Have you seen that video?
No.
That's fucking insane.
I'm gonna be honest. I have like always been on the fence with whether it is flat, hollow, or round, and I'll tell you why. It's not for the reasons most people think. I don't like the fact that it's divisive, and like this has been one of the most contentious like conspiracy theories of them all. You know, there's a lot of people who don't believe in conspiracy theories, but for some reason, every time I see or hear about the flat Earth, it's like over an argument. It's never like, okay, we're gonna just, you know, share our thoughts and our understandings. It's like you're either extreme one way or you're the extreme the other way, and like
Trump Biden.
basically. And it just like it became so divisive. I figured like maybe it was like some sort of social engineering or some sort of construct in order to get people to argue. Because it's been around for years, but like if you think about it, even when Columbus was going to sail to America, like they were arguing over if the Earth was flat or not.
Not particularly. That's actually an urban myth. They actually kind of already were like, yeah, it's a globe, it's
Oh
round.
no, I'm saying
But
that there were people who definitely believed
but
that it was a globe, but there were people who were arguing like, no, we can prove that it's flat.
Yeah,
they were
and,
like,
and
"Dude, you're
usually,
crazy."
and there were usually the religious zealots. It wasn't even the churches; it was the religious zealots who actually believed
the
that.
religious zealots were the ones in control of a lot of the money.
Oh,
Even though
yeah,
it was,
back then, yeah.
even though it was a queen and king who authorized the funding, they still have to get approval from a church. But, and
Yeah.
So the point that Doyle was making is still valid. But you know, I think the other part was whether Columbus was going to reach, you know, the other side of Asia, or you know, whether he was going to, you know, that was really what the question was. And
Right.
they also didn't know how, like they had an idea of how long it would be in terms of like the like how far it was, but they didn't know, like, because there was no proof of it yet, other than
See-
just through numbers and whatever. And by that point, a lot of Western philosophy had been lost because of religion, because of
Right.
we were still not, you know, yet in the Enlightenment age. So it was still very much like those old ideas were not as well known, like ideas meaning from like the Greeks and from the Romans as to what, like how long, like whether the Earth was round, whether, you know, there was, you know, how big the circumference of the Earth was, which is fascinating that even like the Greeks, you know, like 7,000 years ago were able to calculate how, like, the circumference of planet Earth within, you know, a few hundred miles or something. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the flat earthers out there. Shout out to all the round earthers
All around the
out
world.
there. Shout out to everybody who's still listening after all of this crazy nonsense. We appreciate you, Squid Squad. for
Especially
sticking in there.
after Doyle's offensive, racist
Oh, that's offensive.
accent.
We're talking about the flat earth and that's offensive? I'm just kidding. No, if you are a flat earther, comment and let us know why you're a
All I
flat
gotta
earther.
say
If
is,
you're not a flat earther, comment and let us know why you're not a
if
flat
you want to prove the Earth is round, then you need to circumnavigate the Earth from north to south,
Why north to south though?
because basically we've only done it from east to west, and the way that it's set up, only the compass will only point north. So there's only one magnetic north, which is right in the center. So in the disc that has the magnetic point right in the center, there's only going to be the ability to go
Well, we don't
east
go
to west, or
We don't go north to south because then we would hit the big poles that are holding us
get out of town.
up on each side.
And we don't go north because we would run into Santa and we would take all of his gifts and
Santa.
talk about the Fortress of Solitude.
Right.
Santa.
Oh, that's right.
Santa, I want
And-
my Lego set.
And just FYI, though, that I don't think that the flat Earth model would ever disprove the hollow Earth in it.
Yeah,
because of a hole in Antarctica. Is that what you're
There's
saying?
a hole in the air. There's so much like information out there, you guys. Like, it's one of those things that like it always just like fried my brain.
And there's a whole lot of disinformation out there
That is
it's set up
absolutely
to basically knowledge is power.
Yes.
Knowledge is power, and there's a lot of governments that withhold information on purpose. I'm looking at you, North Korea.
Trust me, no one from North Korea is listening.
I don't even think they have electricity, but
Be like, resist your urge to laugh, guys.
no, it's funny. Fuck them North Koreans.
That's terrible.
Not the Koreans.
The
people,
government.
The government.
Yeah. The government, not the people. The people are cool. I'm
What's
talking
that
about the
noise?
government. Oh. By the way, we lost Enrique again.
So we start talking about
He's like,
North
I'm not
Korea
saying
and
nothing.
Whoopings.
Enrique, come back. Hey. Nah,
No, I'm taking it all in. This is
that's what she said.
fascinating. That's what she also said. It's fascinating because she can't say it. That it's good.
Yeah, but like we were saying, it's all about control. I think the conspiracies out there are just because people want to feel special. They want to feel like they have the inside scoop that other people don't have. Or it could be because governments are trying to control the information that you get.
I think
So
it's
who
more
knows?
insidious than that. I think it's. I always do, by the way. I think it's. It's being said it's more insidious, but I think in this case it's like it's just like in the 1800s. It's just a rebuttal against science. That's
Yeah.
all it is.
Yeah.
See, what happens is that at some point, there's a pushback against it, and we're definitely going through that now.
Theoretical science? Hell yeah,
All
I'll push back
science,
against it.
all of it, everything.
I
Just
like,
any.
I like provable, repeatable freaking science because you can go ahead and give me a formula, you can do it, and you can repeat it. And that's what science is. But
theoretical science,
nah.
theoretical science does also do that. I don't know. Like okay, so you guys keep on saying that you guys follow the scientific theory, but know that the scientific theory is just at the end of it. There's never like 100% proven. I mean, that's thing one of like the scientific theory. There is no like 100% proven. There was always like, this is the best idea we have based on the models we have, based on the experiments we did. And there's always room for disproving it or growing it or whatever. So that is really what the scientific theory is. So any time in the same way that somebody says, I can't, like says, oh, I 100% prove, like statistics just never wants to say 100%. They want to say with a 99.9% probability because there's always going to be room for error, and there's always going to be room for something else to come in, and so right now our best provable theories, like gravity, which everyone will say like, oh, we can prove gravity. Well, yes, we can, but it is the best model we have now. That's really what it is. So, and that includes theoretical science.
I liked it better when you were not talking.
Oh, that's just mean, Angel. You do better. Grow up. Do better.
Do better.
I really like what you're saying about science because I think in
Here comes the pseudoscience.
a matter of speaking, I think there was a lot of science that was created to refute like the church, right? There were people being controlled based on their beliefs, and then there was a group that wanted to rebel against like the status quo of what they were being told because they felt like there were certain things that were outside their realm of understanding, and so they started to create this new model, which we believe is science, that was a little bit more grounded in like these other thoughts and this, things like that, right? And I think there's this element of like proof that goes into like true science. Mm-hmm. But I think it is interesting that thus far, the majority of true science has not disproven faith. It has not disproven like what the true church, let me call it, actually spoke on and really tried to establish at some point. But like the two communities are always in conflict. And I think we always talk about like this agenda where people are in control. And I think it has a lot to do with like mind control, with people trying to play out their agenda, really trying to, get you to think the way that they want you to think. And so whether you fall on one end of the spectrum or the other end of the spectrum, it's who controls the spectrum that we really have to ask. Like, have you guys ever heard of MK Ultra?
Yes.
Wow, that was unanimous. That's pretty good. MK Ultra, for those out there who are listening who don't know,
You two listeners in Belgium.
Olga.
Olga and the aliens.
So MK Ultra was an experiment that was ran by our CIA, and many people had theorized that the government was conducting illegal experiments on the human population because they were attempting to control them. They wanted to figure out if the Russians had the ability to control us without us being able to resist. And so they wanted to do these experiments to find out whether or not they could actually control a human. Well,
I've seen Stranger Things.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is actually what Stranger Things is based off of. The writers have confirmed that. But it is all throughout pop culture. We see it in A Clockwork Orange. We see it in, a lot of Kubrick movies. We see it in a lot of modern day, like, what is it? The Manchurian Candidate. That's
the Manchurian Candidate. The men that stare at goats. Have you ever seen that one?
Yes.
Which is actually based on a true story.
Yes, and these are the kinds of things that, like, I know we talk about conspiracy, and conspiracy can go into like fanatical kind of stuff, but these are the kind of conspiracies that I really like to get into because we did kind of mention, some of the Jack Parsons stuff and his connection with Aleister Crowley, but there was also other scientists that were included within that, like Sidney Gottlieb was like a director of a mental institution, and he was in charge of like these unethical experiments. But we know that this stuff started after World War II because of this CIA document that was released during the Freedom of Information Act that revealed that in Project Paperclip, we recruited a bunch of German Nazi scientists who were using concentration camps to break the human condition. They weren't just doing unethical experiments in the concentration camps. They were specifically experimenting on people to see their exposure to certain drugs and their exposure to certain conditions. And so these conditions were used in the CIA experiments, and they also brought over some of those German Nazi scientists who had conducted those. They gave them immunity. This is called Project Paperclip once again. And so this mind control thing, do you guys believe in this mind control thing? Do you think you can actually control somebody against their will?
I don't believe that you can, but I do believe that the government was probably twisted enough to actually attempt to.
Well, they say that you can do it by splitting the psyche.
See, I can control you by just going like this. Now you can't talk. See, you're mute. No, I can't hear you.
I hear the ghost of George.
He's back there with the whip.
It was a personal power.
Okay, you're back. Yeah.
See, and you being the person who was in control of that little system right there was able to go ahead and shut me down, and that's exactly how we're talking about.
But no, I mean, it is. I think governments have tried. What is it? What do they call the Khmer Rouge of East? Khmer Rouge, was that the ones that did the big genocide against their people back in the 60s, 70s?
Khmer Rouge.
Khmer Rouge.
Mm-hmm.
They tried controlling them that way. Pol Pot tried to. Everyone.
You said Pol.
There's always a type of control, but for them to actually be there and be like, the MK Ultra was a thing. There's evidence that there was, but to the extent of like making something like Stranger Things actually happening, no, I don't think that's.
They're not
going to
have powers.
No.
There's always been an effort to try, though. I mean, okay.
Yeah.
So if you're asking if do I believe that MK Ultra happened? Of course, there's evidence of it, and I mean LSD was like a product of it. They used LSD to try to make people susceptible to suggestion. What came out of all of that is that people are susceptible to influence. People can be influenced, but I mean that's something that even our common sense tells us. Like you can convince a child, you can convince an adult of certain ideas by breaking down, their belief systems. I mean, that's the whole thing of like interrogation. Like interrogation became more effective because of it. You don't just physically hurt somebody; you destroy who they are. And George just talked about splitting the psyche. Exactly right. You basically you remove somebody's beliefs and you separate it from their thought processes. You make them susceptible. And so also in the Japanese during World War II, you talked about like Project Paperclip. It wasn't just the Nazis that they brought over. They brought over Japanese scientists because they were also experimenting horribly on humans, right? Particularly the Chinese, their captives. Any captives they would get in China, they experimented on them, like what effect pesticides and certain biological. I mean, and so
I've seen the pictures.
And part of the reason why during the Nuremberg trials, when China had their version of, Japan had their version of it, there were certain scientists that were kept out of it in order to take what they've learned and apply it. So yeah, absolutely, America benefited from it. So that question we asked earlier, like who benefits from these things? Well, in this case, it was the government that benefited from it because it informed their processes on how to interrogate people, how to use certain biological weapons against people, and so that knowledge still exists. And then eventually, it comes out. Like in the 70s, MK-Ultra came out because the government had to take they had to take account of what they did.
Right.
So, but
yes. And I think there's the bigger conspiracy here because people think that this information and the stuff that they were doing is still being done under different operations, under different names. Personally, some of the same experiments with drugs and hypnotics and psychotics that they are using, I personally believe that was the founding fathers of what we know as Prozac. And Xanax and these new antidepressants, because what they were experimenting on eventually led to them developing drugs where maybe they couldn't control you 100%, but maybe they could suppress certain emotions. And as we know, if you get taken off your antidepressants really fast, something happens and people tend to snap, and it is very unhealthy. And very
That's interesting. I just read an article that that scientists are finding that serotonin might not necessarily be attached to depression as much as we thought, and if that ends up being the case, then the thing that's going to be the first thing that's going to have to change is how we medicate for depression. Because most of the medicinal stuff we use for depression help regulate serotonin levels, and so I don't know the full details yet because I haven't read the full article. But it's an interesting idea that if serotonin is not causing depression, then the way we handle it is going to change. Should be interesting.
I think at the end of it all, I ended up running into that question, like, what is it all for? What's the point? And I feel like this is my issue with science. Science was created so that man could control his own future. I think that people wanted to understand and they wanted to have all this information. And you know how people are. If people get their hands on something, someone's going to eventually use it for something negative, right? And so when we talk about the man, the guy at the top who's in control, I feel like there's always going to be some nefarious individual who rises to power, starts using it, misusing it for the wrong reasons. And ultimately, if this person just doesn't want to be accountable to anything but himself, he can justify doing whatever he wants, whenever he wants. And I unfortunately believe that we do have multiple people within higher upper echelons of society in our governments, not just ours, but all around the nation, all around the globe. Sorry, George.
Sorry, George.
Allegedly.
You know what I mean.
Allegedly.
But all around the world, we have these people of these nefarious natures who have now started to communicate, collaborate, and start to work together. Yeah, that too. And they started to work together in order to fulfill a purpose. And I don't know what that purpose is ultimately. I can theorize, but I'm not going to. But I think this MK-Ultra stuff, this mind control stuff, we see so much of it in society. We call it social engineering on social media, when they can convince everyone to change their profile picture to the French flag because something happens. But
right.
And I think at the end of it all, there's all of these questions that we just don't have answers to, and so the quest for knowledge will continue.
That really left me off thinking.
I was trying to be deep.
Yeah. This episode of Ouchcast is brought to you by Prozac.
Episode 20. You got the best of everything in this episode. Our nonsense, our deep inner thoughts. Angel.
Well, you didn't get me.
He's good for the penis.
The whipping. Ow!
Get to work.
My bad. No, yeah, I'm behind you on that one. Out of the 3 conspiracies we talked about today, that's the most one that's like that's not a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
I just don't think I think the outcome is a conspiracy theory, but did it happen? Yeah. Is it happening? Maybe, but I just don't. I don't think it's going to be. There's no Stranger Things events happening. The flat Earth theory or bowl Earth theory or Hall Earth, or whatever you want to call it, is a load of crock or Tupperware in this case. I just don't see it. For what purpose? If that's the case, then my moon landing is fucking bullshit as well.
They could be tied. They could be tied
They
together.
could be tied, but I mean, I'm gonna call bullshit.
I think
The flat Earth thing is just a little. It's just a little too much, dude. I mean, it's just
a
too
bridge
much.
too far, right?
It's
The science,
yeah.
my friends.
Too
The
far.
science.
It's out there.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but the flat Earth was started by a bunch of non-educated hip hop guys who started fucking talking shit on YouTube.
No,
so
sir.
that's not-
Ancient religions had been on
Oh,
that.
same thing.
Not even ancient religions, ancient societies.
Ancient societies
Ancient-
did hip hop.
How are you going to go ahead and listen to their advanced astronomy freaking knowledge, but then be like, oh, but you believe the Earth is flat? Now we can't listen to that. You can't cherry pick. You got to take what it is or it's not.
It's
And they
bullshit.
knew our astronomy way better than modern science does today.
I'll take Aristotle and Eratosthenes over any ancient religion. any day.
let me go.
Like Aristotle and Eratosthenes, look them up, guys. These are the ones who proved it empirically with.
I think I heard their new rap album.
No, they didn't.
The Earth is round, people.
I
Okay?
will-
Get over it.
I will say this
The Earth
about
is
the
round.
Palladian scientists of the Greek culture. They actually are rooted in some of the occultic philosophies
Yep.
that tie into Nicholas Tesla, and Nicholas Tesla actually saying,
Why did I think you were going to say Nicolas Cage? I was like, ooh, really?
"Ooh, put the bunny back
You
in
see,
the box."
The only way we get Angel interested is with a pop culture reference, man. You gotta
No,
keep it
definitely.
snappy.
You know what? That's the thing about MK Ultra. Everyone thought Britney Spears was a victim of MK Ultra, and that drew more
Oh
people
my
to
God.
it. She would go out and they'd be like, "Oh, she's mind controlled."
The only MK Ultra I was interested in is
Mickey
Mortal
was back
Kombat
there.
Ultra. Okay, remember that one?
Oh, that was a good one.
Mortal Kombat Ultra. That was fun.
For me, it's MK Gold. That was a good one.
I like the reboot.
The reboot? No.
The originals are cool, but I felt like the reboots have better story.
No, Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance was probably the best, or Armageddon, because that was pretty cool because you can create your own character. And then the
Yeah.
ones after that, the reboot ones, they were okay.
I just
They
like
were a little too
Toasty.
yeah.
Okay, let me be real. I'm lying. I've never played a single one of the reboots at all.
I own them, by the way.
I have never played them. I went on YouTube and watched a 9-hour video of the entire story, and it was better than I thought.
The story's okay, but the game itself is
Oh yeah, I figure.
yeah. For me, I think
Hence why I
Mortal
never
Kombat
played.
Armageddon was probably the best one, and Deadly Alliance because it was just original for me. But other than that, I mean, and then you go to the old ones, Mortal Kombat 2,
Mortal Kombat.
and then the movie. Did you know that the movie studio did not want to let them do that whole techno album? They just didn't want it. They wanted to have like orchestras and everything, and they had to fight tooth and nail and actually go to a little record label to get the rights to all the music they use, and it was the #1 selling techno album
Yeah,
in history.
that freaking song is amazing. I don't
I
care who you are or what background you're from. As soon as that drops, wherever you're at,
Mortal Kombat.
everyone has an emotional response to that. Even it's a scream.
Speaking of emotional, it's that time.
No, it's not.
It's that time.
You don't
Let's-
say that.
You don't hear it? Here, let me help you. That means it's time to go.
Swallow the mic again.
No, it's time to go. I'm not going down that lane. So we touched a lot of
It's
subjects.
episode 20. They want an encore.
This is episode 20, man. It got a little longer.
Where's my
That's
lighter?
what she said.
Encore. Encore.
You dude, anytime Angel says anything now, it just sounds like one punctuated penis joke to me
All
now.
I'm
You
saying,
guys know this.
It just the episode went on a little longer, but that's
A little
okay.
harder?
a little harder,
A little
faster,
sexier?
a little wetter. But
Bigger. Auto.
we had a gaggle of topics.
Wow.
We know the Earth is as flat as George's ass.
Whoa.
My wife.
The moon
does
is hollow like my brain. And there's nothing up there like your mind control. Ooh, Jesus Christ.
Someone's getting whipped.
So, to recap, this was episode 20. I think it was a lot of fun. I think it was pretty good. Not bad. Georgie, anything to add? Mr. Newlywed?
Be like, I can't wait to leave all you and go see my wife.
Doesn't it feel weird saying wife, though? Like, it took
Yes.
me like, I remember when I first got with, Valerie's like, my wife. Oh, fuck, my wife. Damn,
I had to
that's
be
awesome.
like, oh, yeah, this is my wife.
Yeah, my wife. Yeah, it's a trippy one.
It's a cognitive dissonance. You got it.
Enrique? What'd you... Isn't that handcuffs? It's a good thing.
I said cognitive dissonance, not handcuffs.
No, when you went like...
Oh.
like your
No,
hands are tied.
I was trying to show you how you put one side of your brain with the other side and bring it together.
Okay.
Look at you. I think you're projecting, my friend. That's
No,
the
I'm
thing.
just saying. Doyle?
I have never been in handcuffs. Thank you. I don't know
We'll
what
talk,
you're.
we'll talk off the air.
What are you insinuating?
I'm just saying is all.
Put the whip away.
I'm just saying is all.
Put the other whip away.
And put that away. And remember, guys, say it with me, please. Come on, all four of us. Never make eye contact while eating a banana. Peace and hair grease, my boys.